How do I stop a bank levy? I'm Darrin T Mish. They call me the IRS Solution Attorney. This is not a simple thing to answer on a very short video. I did a product one time that I used to sell. Actually, I believe it's still on Amazon for sale. And I want to say it took me 47 minutes or more to really thoroughly explain this. So I'm going to give it my best shot here. If you have a bank levy, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to call the bank and you're going to ask them to send you a copy of the levy notice. Now, some banks are going to give you a hard time about this. Just be persistent. If the teller says you can't have it, talk to the next person up. Talk to the bank manager. The bank manager says you can't have it, talk to his boss. Talk to the bank lawyer. Somebody up the food chain is eventually going to understand that you have a right to a copy of the IRS levy notice that was sent to the bank. You got to see the levy notice, and here's why. On the IRS bank levy notice, it says who issued the levy. If it was a revenue officer, you got to talk to the revenue officer. Their contact information is going to be right there on the levy notice. If you've been the kind of person that's just been ignoring this IRS thing for years and years, like a lot of my clients, then you're going to have no idea who issued the levy notice, and it's going to take you forever to even talk to the right person to talk to them and ask them to release the bank levy notice. So get a copy of the bank levy notice, because sometimes when there's a garnishment on your bank account, sometimes you think it might be the IRS, but it's not. That happens all the time in our practice. People think it's the IRS, but it's a state or it's child support. There's a whole bunch of things it could be. So get a copy of the bank levy notice from the bank. Step 2, look and see who issued the levy. Was it a revenue officer? If it was a revenue officer, call them. If it was what's called ACS, that's the automated collection system, you're going to have to call them. Now, of the two, I would probably rather call a revenue officer, believe it or not. But you're going to have to call whoever issued the bank levy, and then you're going to be in a position where you basically have to beg. And that's not fun. And you're just going to have to explain to them why this was important. Now remember, on a bank levy, they're only going to have the ability to seize, collect what was in the bank on the day that the bank levy was processed. That's it. So if you look at your bank account and there is $300 in there and they're entitled to $300, I don't think I would bother trying to get the bank levy released, because on day 2, you can put money back in that bank account and you can use that bank account. And they're not supposed to do what are called successive levies. So a bank levy is a one-time thing. They're entitled to the money on day 1 that was in the bank account on the day that the levy was processed, and then they have to wait 21 days before the bank sends that money to the IRS. So if you had a minimal amount of money in the bank, I just wouldn't sweat it. It's probably not worth calling the IRS and trying to get it released. If you had a lot of money in there, then you're going to have to call them or you're going to have to beg. Now, they're not going to release the levy if you have unfiled tax returns. They're just not going to do it. So if you have unfiled tax returns, you're going to have to commit to getting those done within the 21 days, and that's not always super easy to do. So you have to be considered current. You have to have your unfiled tax returns prepared and filed, and if you have an estimated tax obligation, you're going to have to pay that. You're going to have to pay that as well to wherever you are in the year. So if you're in September, for example, you're going to have to have made at least 2 quarters of estimated tax payments in order to be considered current. Bank levies are not super easy to get released. I hear these tax resolution companies on the radio and TV talk about they can guarantee it's going to get done. I'm here to tell you that's just not the truth. It just isn't the truth. You have no leverage and you're in a begging situation. I don't mean to be, a big downer, but bank levies are a rough thing, and it's not a lot of fun to handle, and it's certainly not fun to be on the receiving end of the bank levy. So if you have questions about this or really anything else, I encourage you to visit our website at getirshelp.com or give us a call at 888-438-6474. That's 888-GET-MISH.